Hi guys, James here from Food Matters. I wanted to just shoot this little video with you one-on-one to go a little bit deeper into the behind the scenes of the making of the Transcendence documentary film series, how it came about, what inspired us to cover these topics and pick these particular individuals, and some fun and interesting stories that happened along the way. About 2 years ago now, I had just been on a retreat. I went to a yoga ashram that Laurentine, my wife, had visited a number of years earlier. And at this particular retreat center, she'd had an incredible experience of just being in silence, practicing more meditation, practicing more yoga, really connecting in with the self. It wasn't about any particular dogma or religion or affiliation with a spiritual group. It was more about taking that time to connect in, given the busy world that we live in these days. And she'd received a lot of insight during that time, and eventually that led to us coming up with the idea to launch Hungry for Change online for free when it first came out. And it was such an exciting thing to do, to spend all this time and most of our savings making this second documentary of ours and then having this insight to give it away for free. But then it eventually had a massive impact and was able to help us come up with the idea to launch FMTV, which has become this streaming health and wellness channel, essentially the Netflix for health and wellness. So it was a really interesting time, and I decided to go down and do this same retreat a few years later. I'd spent 5 days in silence, waking up at 4 in the morning, doing meditation, yoga, going deep within, and had an incredible experience. And I came home to the house where we're sitting in now, which is on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. And I opened up my emails to go through my inbox, and it was the start of a year, so there was a lot of emails, everybody looking for my attention or asking different questions and so forth. And one particular email stood out, and it was from a lady called Novak Djokovic. And I remember seeing that name and thinking, that sounds familiar, but I wasn't quite certain who it was at the time. And so I clicked on the email, opened it up, and it was the wife of Novak Djokovic. And immediately I could see the connection. I was like, oh my goodness, this is the world famous tennis player, the world #1 tennis player. And I started reading the email, and it turns out they were fans of our films, Food Matters and Hungry for Change, and also subscribers to our FMTV channel, and loved the work that we did and invited us to come down to Melbourne for the Australian Open, which was happening in just a few days' time. I'd been sent this email a few days earlier, but was deep in silence. So immediately I was like, of course, I would love to come down, and I flew down to Melbourne and got to sit in the box seat with his team just behind Boris Becker and all his incredible team there, and watched him win every game all the way up to eventually taking out the final of the Australian Open that year. And high-fiving with his team, just caught up in this incredible energy, and it was such a buzz. And I got the opportunity to sit down with him one-on-one for, I think, close to 2 or 3 hours. I mean, time flew by, I forgot about that in the moment. And we were chatting about life and food and health and nutrition and all these passions he has on and off the court. He's just an incredible gentleman, wise beyond his years. I think he was not yet 30 at this stage, and just an incredible athlete, human, and psychological power and endurance. I mean, it takes a special human to be that epic at their craft. In this conversation, he started talking about his childhood, how he grew up, and some of the extreme challenges that he faced around 2010 when he was struggling with his performance a lot and having a lot of issues on and off the court and being able to move to that next level in tennis. And he eventually uncovered that there were some nutritional blocks that were stopping him from achieving that performance, and how by adjusting his diet and his nutrition and his approach to his mindset, he was able to move through those limitations and eventually go on one of the biggest winning streaks in tennis history, which culminated in 2016 winning all 4 majors in 1 year, the first person to do that since 1969. And now he's the first person to win all 10 or 11 ATP Master 1000 events, the only person to do that. So he attributes a lot of his success to diet and to his mindset change. And it was just a suggestion I had. I'm like, Novak, this is an unbelievable story. How about we document this in a film? I'd love if you wanted to be interviewed for it. And he said, great, let's do it. And I said, but let's add some other people in there so we can make it a culmination of stories and ideas of people coming together. And he said, sounds fantastic. Fast forward 6 months, we were in south of Spain. He'd just won Wimbledon, and we got together and filmed an interview with him. Laurentine and I were over there, same with our film crew, Tom And we got this interview in the bag, and it was just such an incredible moment. He really shared and opened his heart and his full story. And it was from that moment onwards that we went back into the full-on mode of making another film. We eventually circumnavigated the world, I think twice or more in 2 years. Filmed a lot more in Europe, in the UK, in the US, in Australia, and started to chronicle some incredible stories of men and women who have been able to move through adversity, not just celebrities or athletes, but also everyday people. For instance, Marie Forleo, who was struggling to find her purpose and direction in life based on what career she wanted to follow, what decision she wanted to make about the next step in the evolution of her discovering her own purpose. To Rich Roll, a gentleman who was a burnt-out lawyer at the age of 40, who had this awakening through not only changing his diet, but also discovering hidden potential within his body, and went on to become one of the most incredible ultra-distance athletes in American history. To Dean Karnazes, who on his 30th birthday just didn't like the direction of his life, was essentially going through an early midlife crisis and just decided to shake it all up, and has gone on to achieve incredible things. To Koya Webb, who through injury and challenges eventually found her calling as a teacher and a coach and a yoga teacher and a mentor to help people connect and find their true love in themselves. And really, this led us deeper into topics around belief systems and values and visualization and imagining and envisaging your future, to understanding how much the culture and technology is driving our decisions versus how much we're actively engaging in our own decision-making process. Also to things like stress and overwhelm and burnout, and how breath work and cold exposure can not only help conquer those issues, but also help to take control of your autonomic nervous system, something which we have thought for hundreds of years has been out of our control. It's autonomic in function. However, people like Wim Hof have gone to prove that through these processes you can actually control that autonomic function and turn on your immune system. This is groundbreaking information for anybody going through any challenges in their life. Additionally, looking at food and wheat and modern grain production, how these are disrupting the gut bacteria, and how we can pay more attention to our gut when it comes to healing, and look at ways that we can naturally reverse autoimmune conditions, for instance, diabetes, obesity, through food, but also through acknowledging that mind-body component. We turned all these interviews into a series because we simply had too much content to put into one documentary. I'm a huge fan of the feature documentary, 80 to 90 minutes long. Our first two films follow that same format, but once we got into post-production on this title, it really became evident that we just had too many great stories. We would have to omit too much information, so we decided to put it together into these 5 parts. The first part is called What's in Our Food. The second part is called Overcoming Fear and Stress. The third part is called Beyond Belief. The fourth part is called Whose Goals Are You Chasing? And the fifth part and the final part is called The Art of Fulfillment. And I think in this day and age, we're suffering from things like burnout and stress and depression and anxiety. There's been a 30% increase in suicide rates since 2000, cancer, obesity, diabetes, also midlife crisis, and wondering what direction to take in your life. These are some of the biggest challenges of our time. And these stories and these experts, my hope is that you can take them and feel into them and get some of the lessons from these stories and start to analyze your own life more deeply under a microscope, so that you can maybe identify areas that have gone unaddressed for too long, or areas where you want to seek improvement or be more proactive in creating and crafting your life, or improving your health, or improving your mood and your mental performance, or your ability to remember names, or your ability to retain knowledge, or to learn and grow and contribute and give back. These are some of the cornerstones of improving happiness. These are some of the cornerstones of improving fulfillment. And in the last episode, there's just an incredible story of a man who walked away from $1 billion inheritance to follow his heart and to follow his values. And I think there is hardly any people in the modern world that would walk away from an opportunity like that. But when you see what happened, when you see what transpired, I hope that it might inspire you in the small ways or in big ways to follow your passion more, to follow your heart, and to live a life on purpose. And inside FMTV, we've put together the Transcendence Masterclass, which goes together with the film series in order to help you apply a lot of the knowledge from the film. So daily meditations, morning rituals, recipe ideas, yoga, breathwork classes, plus also extended excerpts from the interviews where the teachers take you deeper into some of the topics discussed in the film, such as visualization, or getting rid of limiting beliefs, or understanding more deeply your values and how they impact the day-to-day decisions in your life, or helping you identify your goals and how to align those goals with your true purpose so that they can help you to feel fulfilled when you achieve them and not feel empty inside when you do. So I'm so excited about this film series. I think that a couple of things come to mind as I finish here. You know, every artist creates work that they need to have for themselves as well. And I think that this has been an incredibly cathartic experience for me. Our editor on this project, Matthew Bennett, he was going through making this film, but this film making him as well. And he's gone on to make some decisions in his life to change things up, to follow his heart and direction a little bit more as well. So it has the power to really touch people deeply. I've seen that for the people that have seen the film around me, and it's impacted me in a deeply meaningful way as well. So I hope that it can have that impact on you, and my wish is that it can help you to live a more purposeful, more fulfilled, and more happy and connected life amidst the chaos and cacophony that we're constantly bombarded with in the modern daily age. So thank you for your time today, and I look forward to you joining and watching the film inside FMTV. Have a great day.